Well, good morning, and thank you very much, as always, for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Hope you had a great weekend, and we can begin to talk about compliments of the season. Indeed, we have entered into that season. Okay, still, let's look at what national issue shall we look at today? Let's look at energy, energy in the country. Energy now, I'm talking about electricity. One of the aspects of energy, and the fact that it has always been under, shall we say, controversy. For a long time, we had this issue of not being efficient, paying too much, and all of that. Arguably, it has improved, but there's one part of it that seems to have stayed in the same place, and here I'm talking about energy theft. People actually stealing energy, aka bypassing the meter. I don't know if this is something that happens with private citizens, or even if some corporate organizations manage to approximate that same kind of effect. But there is a person who has been a regular spokesman on all things energy, and I'm talking here about Chief Sunday Odutan. Chief Sunday Odutan is Executive Director Research and Advocacy of the Association of
Nigerian Electricity Distributors.
Nigerian Electricity Distributors. He also is spokesman of all of these Nigerian electricity distributors. So I'm delighted, and I'm particularly proud, as all my viewers will know. I always, any opportunity I get, I will say to you that I'm an Egba man, and he has shown up as an Egba man. Indeed, he's an Egba chief, Asiwaju Bamofin of Egba land. But that's not what we're talking about here. Thank you very much for finding the time for us.
Thank you.
Now, over to your quote-unquote day job, all things electricity. I highlighted electricity energy theft, and you've been campaigning against this, as far as I can recall, almost as long as I have known you, going back to your Ibadan electricity days.
Yes.
Now, here we are today in 2023, a new administration. Has it changed in terms of decreasing? Has it increased? Or is it pretty much where it has always been? This attitude of our people to want electricity but not to want to pay for it.
Thank you very much, Uncle Yori Folani. I'm very sad to say that it has increased. Incidents of energy theft has increased throughout the country, both in terms of those who are metered and those who are unmetered. And for every energy that we supply throughout this country, from all the 11 discos, 40% of such energy are stolen.
Which runs into scores of billions of naira.
Billions of naira. And for those who are metered, if you put together all the meters in this country, prepaid meters in this country, 60% of those meters are bypassed. It happens everywhere, including this neighborhood. We have had to work so hard. We have different teams of specialists going about check. We deploy technology. We try our best to ensure that once we find out, we hand them over to the security agencies. We work in partnership with the police, with the DSS, and civil defense. Mm-hmm. But in spite of all of that, I'm very sad to say that it seems to be somewhere in our gene for us to want things free of charge and not willing to pay for it.
Now,
Nigerians are good people.
Of course.
We say that all the time, but many Nigerians are thieves.
Now, sort of, first of all, you said both metered and unmetered.
Yes.
There are those who are metered and who will still try to scam the system. And now there are those who won't even bother with a meter, in other words, connect directly to the grid. You will be wondering how some people are able to do that. You would think it's a highly dangerous and professional aspect. That why would anybody want to do that unless you wanted to commit suicide?
I give it to us as Nigerians. Nigerians are very ingenious, very creative, very brilliant. Nigerians are very, very technically minded. 9 years ago, I was on a program in a sister station here in Lagos, and the question was asked, is it possible to bypass without your staff, your people? That time, I said, well, if anybody knows of any incident where any of the disco staff is involved in any of this, let us know. We shall show the person the way out of the system. Yes, over time we have caught a few of them, but majority of our staff will not do that. But where I'm going is that you don't need to be an engineer to bypass meter. Yes. So
that is to say, the meter is in your house, because there are two types.
Yes.
The meter actually is in your premises, your house,
Yes.
whatever. Wires are going into it,
yes.
but actually it is not connected to the grid, and so it doesn't read.
What happens is that at the back of the meter, or along the line from the pole to the meter, before the cable gets to the back of the meter, somewhere in the middle, which could be either in the ceiling, above the POP or ceiling, or somewhere, or right at the back of the meter, what they do is to connect some of the appliances directly to what is coming from the pole, which is why you see us hanging some meters on the poles. Here in Ikeja,
Yeah.
Obafemi Awolowo way, after ShopRite, check your left-hand side and right-hand side, you see so many meters on the pole.
Directly on the pole.
Here in Magodo, right outside this station here, there are a few of them I saw this morning on the pole. That's part of the reason.
That's an effort to
prevent
thwart,
them,
to
yes.
thwart such people.
Yes.
So once the meter is as close to the pole as possible, directly on the pole in some instances,
They may be deterred because it is dangerous for them to climb and do it, but they still climb. So it is a national problem. It's a problem that I think all of us need to work together to solve, because there's a link between all those energy theft and efficiency
Indeed.
of the system.
Indeed.
The operators try their best to be efficient. The situation today is much better than it was the last time I came on this program. And
Okay.
I can reel out
in terms of
statistics, I can give you
distribution.
figures.
Okay.
Because some of our viewers, and I will appeal to our regular callers that I know, and they know me, they should begin to show understanding and put themselves in the position of these investors. The purpose of doing business is cost recovery. When you're doing a business, and every time you put out your product, like I use bread all the time, you are the owner of a bakery, every time you put out that bread, there's still half of the bread. There's no way that you will not begin to cut corners, or you will be unable to supply the quantity that is required. People want to eat bread, of course. Same thing, people want to use electricity. But we need to be more honest. I'm sorry, this is not about religion. Take it out of this. Our own person, whatever religion you belong to, let us be more honest. Let us pay for what we consume. Let us begin to see electricity as a product. We've been mentioning that fact. It is a product like any other product. And if we pay for it, we'll get better service. And I keep saying, and I will say that with pride, whether you are talking about Ikeja Electric, Eco Electric, Eco Electric Distribution Company, Eco Disco, two of them here in Lagos State, or neighboring state here, Ibadan Electric Distribution Company, or you move further to Benin, or you go up to Abuja, or you veer to the right, you go to Yola, or you come down south-south, you go to Enugu.
Even Kano.
You go to Kano, Kaduna, of course, Port Harcourt. These discos have been able to up their game. These discos have invested a lot more in the last 10 years. We celebrated our 10th year anniversary just less than a month ago in November. And we are proud to say, and the president said as much, the minister of power said as much, that the system has improved, but we still have a lot more to do. We can only achieve all these milestones with the cooperation of our customers. And let me say that we have this is a very heavily regulated industry. So we have our regulators, NEC, NEMCO, and of course we have are people who work very hard to bring about this privatization. That is BP, Bureau of Public Enterprise. These three bodies are working very hard to ensure that we, as service providers, do what is expected in line with the law. They also work very hard to ensure that the public get the service they require, they deserve. They also work hard to ensure that there is more electricity. And all other stakeholders, we are the distribution companies, we are the ones that give you electricity. But this comes from the GENCOs, generation company that generate electricity. And of course, Transmission Company of Nigeria. The GENCOs are working very hard. They've done so much to increase the amount of energy that comes into the system. And the Transmission Company of Nigeria are also working very hard. In fact, they are investing heavily in equipment that will enable them. You may have heard about the Siemens project.
Yes.
Even recently.
Goes back to Buhari's time.
Recently, just before this new government, and this government has continued that, the CBN, on our behalf, on our book, are giving a loan to TCN to be able to bring equipment that will improve the power supply through what we call the interface, TCN disco interface. You know, the TCN is the transporter of electricity coming from the producer, which is generation companies. As they bring it to our doorstep, that is where we call the interface. They latch on to our own system. All the dilapidated equipment at that point, all over the country, are being renewed.
Yeah.
The government is bringing billions of naira worth of equipment to ensure that we have seamless supply of electricity. So be it generation, they are doing excellently well. Transmission, they are doing excellently well. Distribution, they are doing excellently well. But you wonder, how come some people still don't have electricity?
Yeah.
Some people still don't have electricity because the population of Nigeria is far, far more than the electricity that is currently available. But efforts are being made to increase generation, transmission, and distribution. But I'm saying that we can only do all of this if our people desist from this habitual energy theft. Now, because it is so rampant.
Indeed. And now speaking about this, I just was curious, this energy theft. Who are the people involved? Are they the enlightened elite, or are they, the usual lowly poor who don't really know any better? What has your research, what is the research aspect of your job telling you?
Okay, I'll give you about 4 locations or 5 in Nigeria. I'll start with Plateau State, Jos. In Jos, there's an estate called Rayfield. Those who are familiar with Plateau and they are watching us, Rayfield is a GRA, and that is actually the highest point, the most, that's the banana island of Plateau State.
Okay.
I'll give you an example of that place. I'll also give you an example of Trans-Amadi in Port Harcourt, Ikeja GRA here in Lagos State, GRA in Abeokuta, Ogun State capital. And in all these locations, let me add Kano. There's an area called Bompai in Kano, another Ikoyi, or call it Banana Island of Kano. In all these locations, over time, in the last 8 years, we have caught very rich people. In the case of Ikeja, a man who owns a Bentley, brand new Bentley, Ikeja GRA here, was caught stealing energy worth 67,000 naira. I'm using a car that's worth over 100 million naira. Look at that. In the case of Abeokuta, my own town, a retired PAMSEC, who is known to be very rich, not a poor civil servant, just retired that time, 2014 precisely, was caught stealing energy heavily. And when I went there, from Ibadan, I went to Abeokuta on that day, when I faced him with the evidence, and we had this approved process given to our regulator. Once you are caught stealing energy, so there is you pay what we call LOR, loss of revenue. You pay the punitive one, like a fine. You now pay, God will disconnect you. You now pay to reconnect. Those 3 put together. When we caught him, and I said, I will invite TVC Channel News, and NTA. So that they will beam it at night. NTA will be 9 o'clock news. Channels and TVC will do their own at 10 o'clock. And I went to take the guys from Iweri to him. Immediately, this guy paid over 800,000 for stealing energy that was not worth more than 100,000. Because he didn't want to be disgraced. He didn't want people to see him. That shows that they knew what they were doing.
So he could pay if he had wanted to
pay. A lot of them are able to pay. When you see a man stealing energy in Magodo, there's no doubt that he can pay for that same energy. I'm not making an allegation against the good people of Magodo, because that's part of the people that I respect so much. They pay a special premium.
Yeah.
Give them the service, they pay, they don't have to use their generator. And these are Nigerians. So we are saying that when you see the amount of theft in Bompai and Kano, you'll be surprised. These are rich people. And in some cases, even the landlord, the rich man, may not know. I've seen where Megad take money from Oga to go and buy credit. He will not buy if they say go and buy 30,000 credit, he will just go and buy 6,000. They will bypass the meter. As far as Oga is concerned, there's light. Yes. We've seen that. So sometimes the owners may even be innocent. Sometimes I've seen a contractor, a builder, who did it for the owner of the house without telling the owner, but the owner's staff knew. When we caught them and we asked the owner to pay, he said he didn't know. I said, well, ignorance is not an excuse in law. This is your house, this is where you live. So we've seen a lot of that. My appeal to Nigerians is that we should work together to improve the sector. There's no point in naming, blaming, and claiming. And we are in a new dispensation. As far as we are concerned, everything we can do in the power sector to ensure that this government succeeds is what we must do.
Do you think, is it that, well, you see, unfortunately, what you've shared with us this morning, you've talked about Rayfield and some other highbrow.
Let me go to
Mekuno
areas.
Mekuno area.
Okay. Let me start from Ogun State. There's a place called Ayetoro.
Okay.
Ayetoro Market.
The same Ayetoro of the famous comprehensive high school, Ayetoro.
That is the place. They created like a disco within a disco. That Ayetoro Market, they will all contribute money. In that case, one of our staff was complicit, and we fired him after 28 years in service. They did that. In some other areas, poor areas, go to Bariga. There's one part of it that you will see, and Okoba, Agege, Yanopaja, all the way to Ipaja, you see a lot of bypass. So this thing happens, and in Abuja, there's a place called Buhari. That's where the law school is. Buhari, they have this settlement like a village on their own. They do it a lot, just as they do it in Asokoro and Maitama. So both the rich and the poor are involved. Nigerian energy theft is not limited to poor people, or it's not about rich people. It's just about people who are either greedy or they just feel that electricity, what they still told me that is a social service. As a result, it is free. Electricity is different from your road, though. Your government will do your road. Even if they told the road, it is okay. But if you don't want that to happen, electricity is a product that has to be paid for. And non-payment for energy and stealing that same energy has prevented the service providers the opportunities that prevented them from giving optimal service. It's not giving an excuse. We're just saying that if I produce 1,000 loaves of bread, I'm a baker, and you have stolen 400.
It's not going to work.
Money. They will say, the money will not be complete. So if I cannot meet the cost of production, and you expect me to be the best producer or the best service provider, it won't happen.
You see, here you are preaching about this. And as I said, it's a sermon that I've known with you for as long as I've even known you, once you've been in this whole sector. It seems to me that there's something fundamentally broken with our people in this regard. Because these same people move around. We're highly mobile people. Just stay for a moment in the UK or go to the US. You must pay for utilities. You must pay for their own NEPA over there. And they know it is part of the system. In fact, people will tell you that we can't save because we have to pay for water, we have to pay for light, we have to pay for this. So they accept it there. And it is not cheap. But here it is a different story. What do you think is fundamentally wrong with our people? Because they probably will say, well, it's not efficient. Even when we pay here, there will not be any light. And you have said that that has been improving, over time. But our people have that attitude, I believe, where, in order, where is the light you are saying I should pay for? And so even the ones that they bring, in some areas, it might be 2 hours a day, some 4 hours a day. I know that you have said that it has gone in some areas to up to 20 hours a day, if not more. You cited Magodo here, for instance, where there's hardly a blink. But this is a problem of the perception of our people that I don't need to pay for water, I don't need to pay for light. What is government there for? I think that's the fundamental problem that our people have.
Well, we're in Lagos this week to hold a program on behalf of the Eco Electric Distribution Company. This time around, we're doing this in Surulere along with Elegba. We do this all over the country. We've been to every single state in the last 5 years. What do? We invite customers to sensitize them, to explain things to them, to get their complaint if they have any, to resolve their issues, and ensure that there is the collaboration between them and the home disco. We continue to engage with Nigerians.
Have you had much success in the resolving of the issues part?
A lot. This morning, right here in TVC, I've solved 2 problems. Here, this morning. They reported something to me, I called, and Ikeja Electric picked it up, and the 2 people were very happy. One, they knew I was there.
So it's as simple as that, actually.
Yes.
Once they know
see,
that there's an issue, it can be resolved.
It can be resolved. There's no issue that cannot be resolved. And when you hear about any issue that is prolonged, go and check. The usual thing there, like one of the issues this morning was that somebody's complained that the previous tenant left a debt in the property, and they were using estimated billing. The new tenant has come, the landlord has obtained a meter, but they have now put the debt on the meter. He now asked me, who is supposed to pay? I said, the landlord. The owner of the property is the person that we know. We don't know about the tenant who moved out. But what we are trying to do now is to deploy technology, and that's why we're seeking for the understanding of our people. So when you have a prepaid meter, we link your NIN, National Identification Number. We link it to your meter, or with your meter, such that we know you and you know us. So when you move, you yourself go on the app, unlink. The person comes,
okay. Because that's
when
a question.
You unlink,
you can unlink.
Yeah, no more light.
When you unlink,
yes,
there will be no more light.
Because they cannot vent.
Because there is a provision to unlink, because that has always been a question.
There's a provision to unlink.
There's this new system that you're speaking about right now. You're speaking about this system right now.
Yes.
By the way, it isn't without its faults and the challenges.
No doubt.
Because, there was a time when we were told that come the 1st of August or the 1st of this,
yes,
you cannot do anything anymore. Yet, the system itself did not enable you to do what was being requested of you.
The teaching problem that we have has to do with the way these technologies work. And it has a very strong link to the telecoms back-end system. You can't do this thing. When we say download this, do this, go online, it is internet.
Yes.
So, and try all the service providers. None of them is without a problem. There are times when you cannot even use your own internet on your phone.
Yes, it happens.
These are teaching problems. These are problems we're trying to resolve, and I assure Nigerians that we will get there. We are trying our best to ensure that we are able to achieve what we are trying to do, and reduce the inconvenient cost to our customers. And I apologize to our customers because I know a lot of people have faced a lot of inconvenience.
Yes.
Having to try again and again.
Yes, again and again.
But thank God in the last 1 week, since the last program I did about 2 weeks ago at Channel TV, we've had loads of calls and we've been able to resolve a lot of issues. But those ones that are beyond us is when it had to do with a third-party telecom company, and they also have their own issue about being able to give us what will enable this customer to upload quickly.
To be able to.
These are issues we're trying to resolve. But I can assure you, even talking about the telecom of today is different from the telecom of 2004.
It is.
So
it is.
We should just be patient.
Well, again,
and
as
we should learn to trust one another.
Well, yes.
There's a disconnect. There's this issue of
yes, especially because these are very simple things that are suddenly becoming like rocket science. Nigerians are very used to, filling forms online, using credit cards, using debit cards that go through. But when it came to this new electricity one, suddenly it became like rocket science, and then you begin to wonder at the quality of the people in the back end of all of this. How well are we doing in that regard?
We have very well-trained specialists at the back end of each of the discos.
But it's not showing.
And like I said, they also liaise and collaborate with service providers on the other end. And we're trying our best to ensure that this thing is done seamlessly.
So that one is a work in progress?
Yes, please, yes.
Okay, so what you're saying is that we need to, in relation to, because all of these add to this sort of image problem, but you're saying that Nigerians need to be patient and understand that, well, we are being sincere, even though there are, you said you're doing your best to root all of that out, but there are those unpatriotic elements within the system. You were talking about a disco within a disco, an illegal disco. Yeah. How would the poor customer at the end of the chain, how would he know? But you're doing your best to sort all of these out.
Once, what we're telling our customers is, if you see something, say something. And once we get the information, no agency can work, no security agency can work without intelligence. So once we get the information, we move in and correct the anomaly. We ensure that we put a stop to it. We've done that several times in all the locations all over the country. So information is key, cooperation is key, collaboration is key, which is why we are also collaborating with all other stakeholders, from generation to transmission to all distribution, then all our regulators, NEC, NEMSA, and of course, BPE. We just have to work together, all of us. Once we can work together, no one is blaming anybody, not anymore at least. Once we can do all of that, then we'll be able to get the required service to Nigerians. Nigerians want electricity. They don't want stories. Talk is cheap.
Indeed.
Yes.
You're so right in that regard. But you are just saying that we need to be patient.
We need to be patient.
It's a work in progress.
It is.
Because even our attitude, that will take some time. I've even heard you on occasion advising people that, Madam, if you're in the kitchen and you're not in the bedroom, there's no need for the power to be on in the bedroom and all of that.
Exactly.
But you would think that people don't know this, but nowadays that people are beginning to look at solar, the advent of solar, and they are aware that they're only able to capture so many watts. They then get ultra efficient with wasting of electricity and say, no, go and switch off that thing in the store. There's no need for it to be there. But you see, once it is what is thought of as government supply, just like people will leave taps running, I think these are aspects of our life that we're going to have to address.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Well, if you just joined us, we're having this conversation with the Executive Director, Research and Advocacy, Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors, and their spokesman, Chief Sunday Odunto.